The Vietnam War was a long and difficult war in Southeast Asia. It happened in the country of Vietnam. This war changed Vietnam and the United States in many ways. Learning about this war helps us understand the world today. For many years, Vietnam was not a free country. A long time ago, China controlled Vietnam. Later, in the 1800s, France took control. France made Vietnam part of its empire, along with Cambodia and Laos. This was called French Indochina. But many Vietnamese people wanted their own country. They did not want to be ruled by foreigners. These people were called nationalists. During World War II, Japan took over Vietnam. But after the war ended in 1945, Japan left. Then, a Vietnamese leader named Ho Chi Minh said that Vietnam was now free. Ho Chi Minh was a communist leader who wanted Vietnam to be independent. But France disagreed and tried to take control again. This started a war between Vietnam and France, the First Indochina War, 1946-1954. In 1954, Vietnamese forces led by General Von Nguyen Giap won a big victory at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu. After that, many countries met in Geneva, Switzerland, and made a peace agreement called the Geneva Accords. This agreement said Vietnam would be temporarily split in two, North Vietnam and South Vietnam, divided at the 17th parallel. It was meant to be temporary, but it created new problems. After the war with France, Vietnam was divided into North and South. The North was led by Ho Chi Minh, who had a communist government with support from China and the Soviet Union. The South was led by Ngo Dinh Diem, who was anti-communist and supported by the United States. But many people in South Vietnam did not like Diem. His government was strict and did not listen to the people. Because of this, a group called the Viet Cong began fighting against Diem's government. The Viet Cong were South Vietnamese fighters who wanted Vietnam to be united under communism. They used guerrilla warfare, attacking in small groups. North Vietnam helped them by sending weapons and soldiers through secret jungle paths called the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which passed through Laos and Cambodia. This war happened during the Cold War, when the US and the Soviet Union were fighting for global influence. The US believed in the domino theory. If Vietnam became communist, other Asian countries would too. This fear led America to get more involved. At first, the US only sent money and military advisors to South Vietnam. But in 1964, something happened in the Gulf of Tonkin. US ships said they were attacked by North Vietnamese boats. President Lyndon B. Johnson used this to ask Congress for more power, and they agreed. Soon after, the US began bombing North Vietnam in a campaign called Operation Rolling Thunder. In 1965, the first American combat troops arrived. The US was now fully in the war. By late 1965, the number of US soldiers in Vietnam grew to nearly 500,000. The US used powerful weapons, planes, artillery, and especially helicopters to move troops and help the wounded. In November 1965, a big battle happened in the Ia Drang Valley, the first major fight between US and North Vietnamese forces. Both sides learned many lessons. Then in January 1968, the Tet Offensive shocked the world. North Vietnam and the Viet Cong attacked over 100 places in South Vietnam, including the US Embassy. They lost many fighters, but the attack surprised Americans at home and made them doubt if the US was really winning the war. Later that year, in March 1968, the My Lai Massacre happened. US soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians. When the news became public, it caused anger and shame, and more people began to speak out against the war. As the war continued, many Americans started to believe the war was wrong. The anti-war movement grew stronger. People saw terrible images of the war on TV every day. Many young people, especially students, led protests. One reason was the draft. young men were forced to join the army. Families were afraid, and many people felt the war was unfair. The My Lai Massacre and other violent events made things worse. In May 1970, National Guardsmen shot and killed 4 students at Kent State University during a protest. This shocked the nation and made the anti-war movement even larger. Polls showed that most Americans now wanted to end the war. In 1969, Richard Nixon became U.S. president. He had a plan to leave Vietnam called Vietnamization. U.S. soldiers would go home slowly, while South Vietnam's army would be trained and given weapons to fight on their own. But at the same time, Nixon secretly ordered bombings in Cambodia and Laos to stop the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Peace talks started in Paris, but they took years. Finally, in January 1973, the Paris Peace Accords were signed. A ceasefire began. All U.S. troops would leave within 60 days. Prisoners would be exchanged. In March 1973, the last U.S. troops left Vietnam. Although U.S. soldiers left, the fighting did not stop. In 1975, North Vietnam launched a final attack. Without U.S. help, South Vietnam's army could not stop them. City after city fell. On April 30, 1975, North Vietnamese tanks entered Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. The war was over. Many people tried to escape by helicopter during a large evacuation. After this day, Vietnam was reunified under the communist government of the North. The war caused great damage. Millions of Vietnamese people died or were injured. Over 58,000 Americans died. The land was destroyed by bombs and chemicals like Agent Orange. In the U.S., returning soldiers faced many problems. Some had physical injuries. Many had PTSD and long-term health issues. In Cambodia, the war helped the Khmer Rouge come to power. They killed millions of people. Laos also became communist. Later, in the 1980s, Vietnam began economic reforms. In 1995, the U.S. and Vietnam officially restored relations. In 2000, President Bill Clinton visited Vietnam. The Vietnam War was long, painful, and complex. It taught the world about the limits of military power, the importance of local understanding, and the human cost of war. Today, both Vietnam and the United States remember those who suffered. The war ended, but its legacy continues to shape both nations.
Thank you for watching this episode of Tales of History. If this journey through the shadows of victory taught you something new, share it, and subscribe to explore the stories history often leaves behind.